Good evening. This is Lisa Albers, Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education President, and this is Board Brief, doing a little recap of the meeting tonight. A couple fun things that we had tonight were a report from SECA, the Social, Emotional, Creative Arts people at Engleman. They showed some videos of the kids and what they thought about SECA and how much they're enjoying it. It concentrates more on the arts. One of the kids just said that the teacher had a lot of empathy, and I thought that that was such a cute comment to come from him, so he must feel quite valued in that class. So that was super fun to hear about, because those were 10 new positions that we added at the elementary schools, and they were difficult to get staffed, but we made it a priority because teachers were saying that they really needed more social emotional support in the schools, and so these positions are in the school full-time, and I think it sounds like the kids are really enjoying that time with those teachers. We also had the American Sign Language Club from Barr Middle School come and do a presentation, and a young man at Barr started this club so that more people would be able to communicate with his friend who was deaf and hard of hearing. His particular friend was having some trouble connecting with other students because he couldn't communicate with them. And we can all only imagine how difficult that would be, especially for a young adolescent. So they started this club, and now that student has more kids that can communicate with him. And so it's been a very positive experience for everybody that's been involved, and it was a very joyful presentation. Today, Mr. Bombeck and Mr. Wolf from Westridge came and presented about the Westridge W. Now, many of you may not know that Westridge actually has a W that they could use in their advertising or on their logos, but they felt it was a weak W. This was the second time I had heard this presentation, and Mr. Wolf and Mr. Bombeck were quite passionate about it, and I really enjoyed listening to them. So we approved changing the W that was created by the communications department at Grand Island Public Schools, so they have a nice, strong W. They asked students at lunch which W they liked better, if they liked the weak W, as Mr. Wolf called it, or if they liked the strong, robust W. And they also talked to some parents that are on the PTO, and of course they preferred the strong W. So you look for that new W on logos and t-shirts and sweatshirts and around Westridge, because the kids and Mr. Bombeck and Mr. Wolf were quite excited about it. Tonight, Mrs. Anya Covarrubias and Dr. Ashley Tomjack presented about renewing our Amplify science curriculum. So it was about 7 years ago that they adopted Amplify Science, and it is now expired, so they renewed it. Mrs. Covarrubias did a great job presenting about the positives for Amplify as a curriculum, and that really it has excellent teacher satisfaction rates in the 90%. So we'll vote on this curriculum next month. So as information tonight, we also are showing our special ed paras a little bit of love by giving them a stipend for depending on how many years that they have been here, and increasing their pay in addition to whatever pay raise they will receive after the first of the year anyway. And there's more details below if you'd like more information. So Dr. Dexter came tonight to give us information on the calendar for 2023-2024. One of the items she presented as a possibility was the dismissal of elementary schools at 3:05 to allow teachers more time for planning and to meet about IEPs and additional meetings. Dr. Dexter had presented last month for information policy 8220, admission of resident students. She came back tonight as an action item to discuss that same policy. We had some very thorough discussion as a board, and I would encourage you, if you have any questions on this policy, to go watch that portion of the discussion on the YouTube channel of the school board meeting. This is about using bands as a count for students in classrooms. Particularly, we were talking about elementary capacities, but secondary capacities were also in those guidelines. Each class needs to be individualized as far as their needs go. So the discussion was, how many kids is too many kids? And it was difficult to try to figure that out. What this band does, and they're actually already using the bands, is it allows for that flexibility as opposed to having a hard, fast number. It's no longer are we able to just go one over a limit and then decide to have a new class. We're going to continue to look at this, and I asked Dr. Dexter to bring it back in a couple months so that we can reevaluate it. And we need to figure out how to provide services to teachers that need additional help in each individual class. It's quite complicated. The Islander football team is going to Omaha tomorrow to play Westside, so we wish them the best of luck in that endeavor. Go GI!